Welcome back. We're here with another episode of The Vet, The Bet, The Casual. Hope everyone had a great holidays and Happy New Year, but we're back with these cards and we're ready to go. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell button. All our information is below. Instagram, Twitter. Make sure you give us a follow. Siraj, how you doing in this new year, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. I mean, you look like you're doing better than me. What kind of background is this? Where are you at?
You know, I had to try a little virtual, keep that white out of here. So, we got my girl Yader right here. I don't know if you can see her. We got... let's go top 30 under 30 in China right here. We're ready to roll, my friend.
Look at this guy. Got Ashley Otters, Henry just chilling in the background. Is that Kevin Holland, Sandhagen?
Everyone knows my boy's here. Everyone knows my boy's here.
Look at the Brazilians on the side. Junior, my goat. Glover, look at you roll out. Ooh, we're in a big year. What can we say? 2020 was beautiful for us. 2021's looking pretty good, obviously. Hey, Pies?
Oh, yeah, I'm, ready to dive right back into it. Got some nice cards lined up for us in January. So, Dana did his business over Christmas. You know that for sure.
100%. And, kind of the rough part about it is we're already seeing the fights fall out. Lucky us, we're getting the chance to be really far ahead this time around. And so we're embracing that. In case you want to change the backgrounds again, we can obviously take a chance. But I'm loving him. And he's probably really fun to look at now. So, let's just keep it rolling, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Siraj mentioned, fights are constantly changing. So we're going to go based off of the UFC website. We believe that is the most official thing we can go based on. So as things are changing, they might, not line up, but we're going based off of today, the UFC website.
Yeah, and the UFC stats website is a website that I love being on if you're kind of an MMA stats geek, at least for the UFC organization. I mean, they have the exact same card listed. So it does make sense for us to kind of roll with that because they have the upcoming fights and how you compare them statistically. So I think it's a right move for us as well.
Perfect. So let's dive right into it. Kicking us off is Jacob Kilburn and Austin Lingo. Seems like that's the first fight showing up on UFC. So that's one we're going to touch on. These are a couple nice young prospects in the featherweight division. Mm-hmm. We got Jacob Kilburn. He sports an 8-3-0 record. He did lose his UFC debut to the quarantine man himself by Triangle, Billy Quarantillo. So he's going to be looking to bounce back from that one. He takes on Austin Lingo, who has a 7-1 record. He was undefeated coming into the UFC, but he did lose his debut. We watched that one against Yusuf Zalal. And, we know he's no slouch either. So, Lingo's going to be looking to bounce back. I'm looking forward to what he has in store. What do you know about these guys, Siraj?
Yeah, so you brought up some good points, right? The thing I like about Lingo right away is UFC debut against a guy like Yusuf Zalal. That's a great fight, right? And we saw him go right into the end. The third round was interesting, right? We saw him keep up in terms of cardio in a way, but he was taken down for a while, pushed into the fence. Zalal loves attacking the neck with those Darce chokes. So, he found himself in those quite a bit. But, I like the defense. I liked the overall cardio for 3 rounds in a UFC debut. So if you look at his record overall, the guy's a knockout artist. The guy's got a ridiculous amount of knockouts under a minute and some in LFA. So respectable organizations as well.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing with him, can that translate to the UFC? Are we able to see that kind of knockout power? It was interesting to see just how quickly he was able to kind of put guys away. The moment he kind of landed big punches, got them on their back foot against the fence, that kind of thing. It was pretty much his fight to call, and that was what I really liked about him.
What about our boy Jacob here? Anything stand out to you in terms of him?
Well, in terms of recency bias, hasn't fought in a year, but he has put out a lot of, I guess, training material with his coaches and stuff like that. Okay. The big thing for me that I'm a little, I guess biased against is I have pretty good tape on a guy like Lingo. That's the part that scares me. So I can see all this hype and all those kinds of things. Kilburn came up short on his Dana White Contender Series debut with Quarantillo, your favorite fighter. And we've seen Quarantillo now, just kind of do his thing in the UFC. But for me, I think it's a pretty fair assumption here to say I know who the favorite should be based on experience, based on, UFC, I guess, recency bias.
Well, let's dive right back into that. I've missed this, man. I can say the last time we did this was 2020. So let's dive right back into those odds. It's one of my favorite games to play. Let's see if you can get a lot of bells here today. It might be a little rusty, but
We'll
let's see what
yeah.
happens. Okay, so where do you see the Vegas favorite here and by how much?
Just to give Pies, a bit of credit here. This guy was ready with the Ricky Simon fight already. He had a few other fights ready to go, lines and everything. Hey man, why'd they disappear? I couldn't find them anyway.
Have they taken them away from me?
Bro, I'm not allowed to look. What do you mean? I have no idea. That's you're killing the game. If you can't find them, they're not there. That's your game. And so lucky him, he still has how many fights you got there? Just a
I think we got 13, 14 still, so we got plenty.
Yeah, so let's dive right into it. I do see our boy Lingo being the favorite here, and I actually put him at minus 250.
Ooh, this man's rocking it with the belt to the start, man. I love it. What did you say, 250?
Minus 250, yeah. For Austin Lingo.
215, right in the range. That's a beauty call.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So we're looking at what, plus 150 for Kilburn?
Yeah, about plus 170, yeah.
Oh, so I had him at plus 180 on my sheet too. This is beautiful.
Oh, there you go.
So that's what I'm kind of saying. Like for me, Pies, I do see value in that, right? Even at that minus 250, for me to see him at a minus 215. I mean, are these the kind of fights we want to throw a lot of money at? I mean, that's really your call. But for me, I really do think that I like what I've seen from Austin Lingo. I think that minus 215 line represents a little bit of what we saw from Yusuf Zalal, but also what we saw in LFA. Whereas year off, really, training videos, word of mouth, if you will. I think he looked good in his fight against Quarantillo, but again, just came up short. So lines match up. Let's keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, perfect. And if you are truly determining how much to bet and all that kind of stuff, make sure you check out our UFC betting videos. You can kind of give some good tips on there on bank management, money management, unit sizes, all that kind of stuff.
We got all four of them out. Let's get it.
Beauty. All right. And then up next, we got a nice ladies card. Kicking us off is another Canadian women's fighter. We just had the pleasure of sitting down with Jillian Robertson, which was just a true treat.
If you want to check that out, check it out right now. You can see the link right there.
Perfect. And so now we have Sarah Moras fighting out of Kelowna, BC. Another one trying to make a name for herself. She comes in with the 6-6 record. She's had a little bit of a tough go in the UFC. I believe her UFC record is 2-5. Most recently, she did get that KO against Liana Jojua. She followed that up with a loss to Sijara Eubanks. So we know, the credibility of these ladies. We've seen them a bunch lately. So, these were no slouches. She actually won the UFC Fighter 19 as well. And she's going to be taking on Vanessa Melo. So Vanessa Melo comes in with a 10-8 record. However, she is 0-3 in the UFC. So, huge fight for her. She definitely has to show up here. She has decision losses to Aldana, to Cortez, and to Carol Rosa. So, both of these fighters are going to be looking to make a name for themselves and really prolong their UFC career. What do you see here, Siraj?
Yeah, so you kind of nailed it with our girl Sarah, right? So the big thing with Jojua is she was able to ride out that ground. She was able to kind of get those big strikes towards the end to kind of steal that win, right? Sijara Eubanks, when I watched that fight, Sijara Eubanks did a really nice job in 2020, and I think you can agree with me on that. Mm-hmm. She looked really, really sharp. She looked like a primo athlete, and I think in those fights where the athleticism really did come in play, she shined, and I think that was an example of where Sarah Moras has the opportunity now to kind of take on someone that I kind of have some questions with, and I have this pretty solid stat with her, and she's been picked apart. So her striking rate is coming in at 324 against to 153. So she is getting hit 324 times with only landing 153 punches in her fights right now in the UFC.
Jesus.
That's a problem, you know what I mean? Yeah. And Sarah Moras is no slouch as a striker, and we can clearly see that she has the strength, she has this technique to get the fight to the ground if she needs to. But in this case, it seems like it's a pretty good strategy to kind of take this fight to the distance and ride out that strategic striking. But if you compare, our girl Melo to Eubanks, I think there's a huge difference there, right? So I do believe the odds should show that, I don't think we need to spend that much time on this one, to be quite honest. I think we know that Moras is coming as a huge UFC, veteran. You mentioned yourself, she's competed on an Ultimate Fighter. She didn't win the entire thing, but she definitely won her fight on the on the card and everything like that. So I mean, she's competed at a high level, and I think that's going to mean a lot in a fight like this, where we've seen someone fairly
Struggle.
consistent. Yes, in a way where it's consistent. Like, to me, MMA, it's like, it's hard to find that. You want me to be honest? That's what makes the gambling aspect of it so hard, right? Like, the MMA math of everything is just so hard. But in this case, I can't help but feel, when you stack up the way these fights have gone for Melo, just taking those strikes and being outstruck for that long, and just the crispier fighter just seems to come out on top. And if Moras can be that, it's a pretty good ticket to win.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, right? Like, this girl has heart. She gets to decision almost every time, but she's not doing enough to win that decision. She's taking way too many shots. And unless that improves, I don't see that changing in this fight. So, yeah, I was gonna ask, what do you think the odds are on this one?
Yeah, so you sniped it, right? Like, you're putting a lot to just bank on Melo changing her game, and you hope that she has that ability to kind of switch it up if she needs to. But Moras has to be the favorite here, and I'm going with a -225 line for Sarah Moras, and it might be higher
Look
than
at
that.
this guy, man. 2 for 2. Where's my bell at? Yo? My word, 2 for 2, man. Yeah, so she's actually a -250 favorite, not far off from what you said there. Melo's going to come in slightly above +200, and from what we've seen on tape and the style of fights, I don't see a scenario where we don't take Moras.
I think that if, depending on where the fight goes, there's just areas where she seems to be able to, outshine, outclass a little bit. And like I said, there's just too much tape on Melo on how she kind of deals with the damage and deals with the long-term striking over 3 rounds. And, she just seems to not be able to keep up.
Yeah, for sure. I don't see that changing next weekend. I was going to say
We'll
this
see what
weekend.
happens. We'll see what
but
happens.
it changes,
If Melo comes out hard, we have so much time. Jason goes like, bar like oh God, Pies don't lay nothing yet. Pies don't lay nothing yet.
All right, and so up next we got a welterweight bout. We got the German in David Zawada. He's taking on Ramazan Emeev. I believe that's how you say your name. I apologize if I got it wrong, but
Sounds beauty to me.
Really excited for this one. The German Zawada, he comes in with that 17-5 record. He is 1-2 in the UFC. He did lose to Danny Roberts, and most recently, he was knocked out by leg kicks to Jingliang Lee, who we will discuss later today, as he will be on the main card. So, he's going to be looking to bounce back. We got Ramazan. He sports that 19-4 record. He's 4-1 in the UFC. His lone loss came to Rocco Martin back in 2019. He did bounce back from that with a nice unanimous decision victory against Stolze. And, he's going to be looking to continue that streak going. He's had a pretty successful UFC career so far, and looking to see where he can keep it going. Where do you see this one landing, Siraj?
Yeah, so you threw out a lot of names that I want to kind of touch on. So let's start with Zawada, right? You threw out the Danny Roberts. That was a very close fight for him. Very, very, very impressive performance overall. Jingliang is a big name overall. He's a good striker, knockout artist. I think 3rd round finish, in watching that, good strikes from Jingliang, like, it's what he does, and to be able to keep up with him is tough. These guys come forward. A lot of these Chinese strikers are showing very good promise, especially in later rounds. They just come forward, man. They're able to take the beating and just keep pushing. And, we saw that in that fight. The one thing I like about him, though, is he showed that kind of pizzazz against, a compatriot of Emeev, the Dagestani wrestler, was able to land a pretty solid finish, from the down position. So little things like that is something Emeev wants to watch out for, because he's going to kind of go in with that similar mentality. Like, he's going to want to push that pace. This guy has a takedown ratio of 10-3 in 5 UFC fights.
Jesus.
He likes to really push that pace. He likes to get the fight to the ground, but at the same time, like we said, Zawada has shown to be a little tricky. Can we talk about how this might be one of my most favorite nicknames in all of MMA? Sagat. Tell me you know where that's from, my boy.
Of course, man. Of course. Street Fighter, bro.
So good, right?
Great character. Character.
And the one thing about Zawada is you have to feel bad. When you look at the reason he didn't fight all year, it had really nothing to do with himself per se. The first fight got canceled because of the corona outbreak overall, and the second fight got canceled because Lizzie's got corona. So it really sucks for him that he wasn't able to fight for that long. But, what kind of fighter can we see in that period of time? We kind of talked about it in the first fight too, right? A long time for a fighter to be able to focus on what he needs to do. And in this case, avoid those takedowns, man. Work that striking. We saw Emeev very, very much struggle with Stolze in that striking department. If you look at the stats, man, Stolze did a very good job striking. Unfortunately, the grappling and control was just what was the ticket for Emeev to steal that fight. And if he can get it going early, man, I feel like Zawada's going to get tired. I think he pushes a pace that if he's not able to get back to his feet and maybe land some good strikes to kind of keep him guessing, he needs to keep the fight standing as much as possible, because at the end of the day, to rely on the ground game, essentially, against only the wrestler, like, he's going to land some shots.
Yeah.
You know, it's a tough game to do in MMA. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's a whole different story. But in this case, I think
he's going to want to avoid the mat here for sure. Absolutely. And how is, kind of his defense in that realm? Do you believe he's going to be able to stop Emeev from taking him down?
Well, the beautiful thing about it is I think we have a very good comparison, right? I think at the end of the day, you have Emeev whose ability to take down is just far too good. I think at the end of the day, you have to be able to mix it up enough to keep him at bay. You're going to have a great reach advantage here. So, like, use it. Keep him at bay with those distance strikes. Yeah. Like, that's the best way to do it, And being that good with length, I think that's something he has to utilize.
Yeah, he has to. Has to play to his strengths for sure. In terms of the Vegas line, where do you see it landing? Are we going to go 3 for 3 with the bells here?
I mean, let's hope. I like the potential of watching Zawada fight. I love it. I like there's a potential of this fight being very, very good. However, Emeev has a very, very good resume in what he's shown us. I don't like how close the Stolze fight was, but at the end of the day, his grappling looked good enough at who he's about to take on for the next little bit in the UFC. But at the end of the day, obviously, goals and games and all, like, that's the whole point of the game, right? Everybody's trying to be a champion. But in this case, I do have to give Emeev the reign as the favorite. I'm going to have to go with a line of -170.
Ooh, just outside the range. Just outside the range. He's actually a -250 favorite.
Okay.
So, that UFC record, that recency bias is definitely coming to play into part here.
That's very interesting. And you know what? We'll keep an eye on those lines. And there's a chance that it goes the other way too. Like, it could get worse. It could actually get, in terms of the way the Dagestani guys get pounded, as we get closer to fights. Everybody's a Khabib fan, and those lines move accordingly. Yo, Pies. One thing we forgot to mention?
What's that?
Move out of the way. Can we just pay homage? Can we pay homage?
The main man. The main man.
Who you got in the middle there?
I had to give a shout out to the Black Beast, It
was the shirt I wore to Vegas for my bachelor party.
Yep. Yeah. I had to get him back in the middle there.
Man, what an exposure to that human being we've had together. It's
oh my God.
Beautiful journey. We love you, Mr. Balls.
Missed seeing that fight in 2020. Hopefully we get it back in 2021.
It's funny. I was probably the only guy in that arena that was not disappointed with that Ngannou fight. In fact, I was borderline happy because I was like, man, if my boy Derek Lewis was the guy that got lucky with Ngannou kind of having that mental game after Stipe kind of got away with it. Ooh, not got away with it. I apologize. After Stipe beat Ngannou, Oof.
Yeah.
I think my boy Derek kind of got.
Ngannou's a beast, man. Just a beast.
Hundo. But you know who else is a beast? The Black Beast! Pay homage, my man.
All right, and up next, we have a nice featherweight bout. We got the UFC vet in Nick Lentz, and he's taking on the slightly older prospect in Mike Grundy. You seen Gotham, my man?
I have seen Gotham, man. Come on.
It's the only time I've heard Grundy before in my life.
Yeah. Solomon Grundy.
Solomon. How you gonna remember the man's first name?
Yeah. You know how I feel about comic books, but I'm not gonna lie. I only have one game on my phone, and it's Injustice. So I have Injustice 1, deleted obviously, and I have Injustice 2. But best. So
you've been using Butch enough.
Oh yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Butch is not a good character in that game. He's most certainly not a good character. But till you get Gold Superman, he'll do.
Well, hopefully Mike Grundy can do him a little bit more justice. So first we got Nick Lentz, UFC vet. He's been in here since 2009. So we've seen him a bunch. He's looking to take on, like we said, a nice older prospect in Grundy. Nick Lentz, he rocks that 30-11-2 record. Something that stood out to me, 2 of his notable losses were to your boy, Charles Oliveira.
The Bronx! Man's heading on chicken. Man beat Tony Ferguson and went and headed
on man. Yeah.
My guy, yo. Come on now.
Legend shit, man.
Take notes.
Shit right
Take
there.
Notes. Oh, yo.
Literally become a champ and still remember to pay homage. So... You gotta love him for that. And, both of those were by submission as well. His submission game is just too strong. And so, recently he lost to, I believe, Arnold Allen by decision back in February. So he's going to be looking to bounce back from that. Grundy, he rocks a 12-2 record. He is 1-1 in the UFC, but overall a 12-2 record. He did make his debut by beating Nad Narimani and then lost that follow-up fight, which we saw in July, to Evlov, I believe. Mm-hmm. So he's going to be looking to bounce back from that as well. This is going to be a great fight. What do you see here?
Yeah, so big thing with Evlov, I want to point out how elite this man looks. So that's the big thing with Grundy, right? That's a beast. I think he took on an absolute beast and lost for the first time in 5 years. So the big thing about Grundy that we saw in that fight was he's really good at getting the takedowns, and he does look for submissions. He obviously likes to grapple. His striking's there. I mean, against Evlov, Evlov ran away with the fight the third round. The striking just outclassed him by that point. It was a tough fight to watch in that way because he really was trying to push for it. But that's where I think the lines might be a little interesting, because I can't wait to see what's happening with this. This might be my most, I don't care for the lines like you do, but this might be the one I'm most interested in because yeah, it's got that veteran, right? We talked about this. There's only a 3-year difference here, but hype, time away from the octagon, all that kind of stuff. That stuff plays a part, especially recently when you watch a guy fight a guy like, Evlov. So what I'd like to see here is, he landed 6 takedowns in that fight. That's a big deal to me. Against Ned's, that kind of guy, big type of veteran, I don't know, man. I think it's going to be a little bit tougher. If this guy can mix up the strikes early, I'm going to throw some stats right now with these two guys. The striking is just a different level because at the end of the day, he's going to land at almost a 3.5 rate with Ned's, and this guy's hit just above 2. That's not good enough, and the accuracy is close to 50% Nick Lentz. And unfortunately, strikes absorbed on Grundy's side, over 4. And I think that's going to play a part. If he doesn't get those takedowns early and trying to get those grappling moves, even lands some ground and pound, he can do damage. That's not out of the question. But I think with a guy like Nick Lentz, who's been in there with guys like Charles Oliveira on the come up, come on. Let's not talk about Charles Oliveira on the come up. Are you kidding me? God.
Yeah, no, I think your analysis is just on point, right? And if Grundy is able to kind of take it to the ground, work to his strengths, he'll have a better shot than trying to stay up and strike with him. So where do you kind of see the line landing here?
Okay, so we can definitely chalk this up to maybe me being biased towards what I'm hoping and can have fun with you the moment we decide this. But I am going to say that Grundy is the favorite, but not by much. I'm going to give Grundy the edge by minus 130.
Ooh, that's in the range.
Okay, let's go.
Let's give it to you. So Grundy's a minus 160 favorite, right in line with kind of what you're expecting. Yeah. So plus 140 on Lentz here.
Mm-hmm. So here's the thing, guys. I want us to go the dog here. I really do like the dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any sort of props that stand out to you?
Well, here's the thing. We saw him take some serious damage from a guy like Evlov, and you know what? It'd be tough for me to go anything with a finish. I'll be honest. If it's not the other way, maybe. But I do think Nick Lentz has what it takes to kind of get this fight to a decision and win via strikes. I do think that's his ticket. I don't think there's a size difference. I do not believe there's a massive athletic youth, all that stuff. There's not much. There's a little bit of length, that kind of thing. But Nick Lentz has fought some big guys, man. And at plus 140, you have to ask yourself, do you take a chance on the vet who, on paper, he doesn't look so bad in this fight, man.
No, and he's seen everything, so nothing should come as a surprise to him. By decision, actually, is plus 275, or, as you people who like to follow American odds, 3.75 on that one. So, the odds are there. That value is there for sure.
Yeah, so, I think there's a good chance that goes down. Like you said, we love American odds. So when we see that plus 2 anything, we love that. We love that stuff. That's the beautiness. At the end of the day, we have to sprinkle him with that confidence something. But I just like Nick Lentz to really put up a good fight here. And I knew he'd be the underdog. I really did.
Amazing. That's what we're looking for. So, I love me some heavyweights, baby. Let's go. Up next, we got a couple nice prospects in the heavyweight division. fight I'm really looking forward to. So first off, we got Justin Tafa. He comes in 4-1 record. He's 1-1 in the UFC. He did lose in his debut to Yorgan De Castro, who we will talk about. And he did bounce back against Juan Adams last February. This guy seems to have a lot of knockout power. Just going through all of his fights, very rarely does he go the distance. He does like to finish his fights. On the flip side, we have Carlos Felipe, 9-1 record, also 1-1 in the UFC. He lost his debut to Sergey Spivak and then bounced back and beat Yorgan De Castro, who seems to be the punching bag in this division. I'm just playing. But, one thing that also stood out on the flip side to me for Felipe is that most of his fights go the distance. He's not somebody who really, utilizes that knockout power, but more takes his fighters to the distance. So, when I was looking at Tafa, I'm like, oh, we're definitely taking this fight to not go the distance. But now I'm kind of questioning that. What do you see here, man?
That's a great stomach you got there. So I will say, Felipe is one of those guys that I would say, as if I were you, as that like extreme better, this would be your really close NBA matchup. Let's go even with NFL, where you might even consider a road team, but it's just everything's too close. You don't know, right? This is one of those situations where, as a heavyweight, the way he fights, it's crazy to see him kind of land at the accuracy and pace that he does. He kind of talks a lot in there. He's one of those kinds of guys, and he seems to enjoy the pace. Spivak, we've seen what he can do against really good fighters. So, that loss is very, very credible. I think he's very underrated, man. I think that the talking and stuff like that kind of got him a bad rap in the early going there, but with Tafa, this is more of a really, really fun fight for me. Like, I'm really excited. I watched his fights in the UFC. I really like his confidence, and this was the name I wanted to drop on you, but tell me this man is not the second coming of Mark Hunt.
Come on.
Yo, bro, this is not a racial thing. Like, this man is Mark Hunt. Like, you watch him fight, it's just like, he must idolize this man. Like, this is Mark Hunt Jr. I will put money on this man. You know what? He might have even said something about him in a post fight. We'll see. But I'm fairly confident that this man is a big fight fan. So there's a quick thing I want to analyze about his two fights, right? And this is like a learning process as an MMA fighter. And I don't know if this was like, ring IQ, as they say in boxing. But if you look at his two fights, the fight he lost against Yorgan Castro, he actually had him on his back foot and rushed in. And what happened was, when he rushed in to try and throw his big punch, he came over the top. Yorgan Castro kind of went backwards and just landed this massive, bro, wide open chin, massive boom, flatline this man. So I have to say he learned from this mistake, because guess what happened, homeboy? Guess what happened? He goes up against Juan Adams and, exact same situation. Gets this guy to his back foot, is about to go against the fence, but our boy Marky Hunt Jr., guess what? Mr. Learned Ring IQ took his time, kind of just did this little quick jab, landed a punch. Bro, this man just came back and landed a quick uppercut, flatlined this man to a level where I was like,
jam done.
Did he walk away like Marky Hunt? Maybe I'm just daydreaming now, but the resemblance is uncanny to me.
That's so good. I love the comparison. And let's hope he's kind of learned from it. And it looks like he has, given his, that recency bias. So, in terms of lines, who do you see as the favorite here?
Yeah, so it's hard to ignore everything you brought up about Felipe, right? I think you can see holes in Tafa's game. It's not that I just didn't point out a way he'd improved on an exactly, similar situation. But for me, I do think that Felipe deserves the edge here. Not by much. I think there's a good chance here that they're both fairly well sized for each other and all that kind of stuff. This is going to come down to skill. And I think, unfortunately, Felipe right now is a guy that's going to bring a lot. And Tafa's going to have to be able to deal with that, not only for the first round, but for potentially 3 rounds. And that's going to be that's going to be tough. I think I'm actually low on my number here, but I might even increase it on the fly. I'll tell you my original number later, but I'm going to actually go with a minus 160 here for Felipe.
I am glad you bumped it, because it got you right into the range to hear that sound again for sure. He is a minus 190 favorite.
Ooh, wow. So you're gonna laugh at my I just missed, man. My original line was minus 135. Can you believe that?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, way to adapt on the fly there, for sure.
Yeah. Convince myself of something, right?
Hey man, talking things out loud always works, man.
Yeah. Like we said, right? How many heads to beat Vegas pies? How many heads to beat Vegas? As many as you
as many as possible. Oh, you got it. So yeah, he does come in at that minus 190. The thing that actually stood out to me, if we were leaning Felipe, is to take him by decision. That's actually plus 225, man.
Yeah, they must.
That is a lot.
Yeah, heavyweight knockout power, right? It just dictates so much, man. You go and watch this kid's fights. It's like he gets knocked out a lot and he knocks out a lot. So at the end of the day, what does that mean? If he gets touched up a little bit, is he going to be able to sneak in a submission in the third round? These are the kind of things you don't want to play with a guy like Felipe. That's where I think his skill might lie. Third round, we don't know what we'd expect from a guy like Taff. As much as I want to see a very competitive fight for 3 rounds, I can't give him the same bump I can give Felipe, right? We've seen it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing you've kind of taught me in this heavyweight, division is that if that knockout doesn't come in the first 2.5 minutes, it's likely not coming. These guys get tired so quickly that, the bows that they're throwing in the third round have no real power behind them to truly knock out a heavyweight.
You brought up that's like gospel to me, man. Like, think about the fight between Yorgan Castro and Greg Hardy, man. That to me was I hated that. That was one of the worst fights I've ever watched, man. I just didn't enjoy it, man. This is not a biased thing. This is nothing like that. For me, that was a fight where skill-wise, I believed you need to learn a bit more for that level. Maybe it's just back to the drawing board in that sense. Like there's a lot that could have happened for both guys, and unfortunately, you just saw them really kind of fade simultaneously. Like
fizzle out. Yeah, and no real structure behind their game then after. It was very sloppy for sure. So yeah, stay tuned for that one. But, we do kind of are leaning towards Felipe. We are going to look at, the knockout versus decision and see where we land.
And to be honest, I don't even know if I can personally touch anything like this because frankly, I just see too much potential love for a man like Tafa. And it's hard for me, man. It's hard.
Marky Mark, man.
Marky Mark.
All right. And so, originally the next fight that we had up, we thought was the co-main event, but it looks like it's been pushed to the prelims. So we're going to roll with that order based on the UFC website. And
Tapology has it listed as that. Like, let's just say who has it listed. Yeah.
So we'll have to see how it unfolds. But we got Omari Akhmedov against Tom Breeze here. So this is a nice middleweight bout. We got Omari, or the Wolverine, and he comes in actually as the 14th ranked middleweight. That actually shocked me there. So he's definitely climbing the ranks. He had won 5 in a row prior to his loss to Chris Weidman there. So, he had been on a roll. We saw him beat Alessio. He took on High Knees, who I had to mention there. High Knees. So, he'll be able to give Breeze everything he can handle. I believe he had a draw against Vittoria as well. So, we'll be seeing a good amount of him against Breeze here. Breeze, he comes in with that 12-2 record. He's 1-1 in the UFC. He lost his debut, I believe, against Brendan Allen. And then we saw him bounce back just recently against KB Billar, who took that fight in short notice. It seemed like he was very much out of the realm. By the way, did I ever tell you that he's actually Azim's cousin?
No. I mean, Hakeem Dawoudou's Sadik's boy. Calgary man's roll deep.
Yeah, so this one's in Edmonton. His wife is from Edmonton. And yeah, that's actually her close cousin. So even he was telling me he's completely outmatched in this one.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like the UFC is going to have to match people up with who they want. KB Billar, let him know for an Indian man, he's got a really solid body. He's got good size for the division. But you did say one thing. The one thing I want to mention is, also kudos to KB Billar, but Breeze is actually an even older UFC vet, right? Like, funny enough, he ended up putting together a 4-1 UFC record back in the day till 2018. So he actually lost to Son Strickland by split decision. My boy.
Oh, interesting. All right.
Prospect before the motorcycle accident and all that stuff. So Tom Breeze is actually a very well acclaimed MMA fighter overall. Like he's been in the UFC before. His UFC record is actually very impressive. KB Billar had a tough fight on him, and it was after the Brendan Allen loss, right? So he was taking on a very vengeful version of Tom Breeze as well, right? It's one of those things where he had a lot of time to prep for his next fight. It doesn't matter who it was. And Tom Breeze has been doing this for a very long time. So that takes me right into the analysis for this fight, right? When you think about it, we talked about the finish early in the year, and then we talked about the fight with Billar. I was actually going to mention before you told me any of this stuff, I actually don't think that we can judge that fight very fairly, because I think that was a situation where you just saw a heavily like that should have happened in the gym. You know what I mean? That should have been for KB Bullock to experience, if you will. You know, for that to be the L on his record, it is what it is. That's the game, right? So at the end of the day, he took the fight. It's going to be the best experience he's ever gotten so far, and he's going to learn from that. And I think Breeze himself is now looking at someone who is one of the more veterans when it comes to UFC fighters. We love these Dagestani fighters. You know, he's been there for a while. He brings that dog style, likes to strike, but you know, you brought up Marvin Vettori. The way I feel about that is Marvin Vettori was still kind of on the rise. I think right now you're seeing prime Marvin Vettori, which means like this was, you know, still prospect type of time. And, you know, he did take him to that draw. I think Weidman just outshined him in that third round. He was able to out-grapple him. He just completely outclassed him in that third round. Weidman sold that fight beautifully. He deserved it. Kudos to the veteran for making a solid comeback like that. He needed that win. And I think he's going to now be, you know, Akhmedov's going to be a very hungry fighter now. It is what it is. I still think, you know, Breeze is going to bring his A game. I really do.
I'm really curious to see where you land on this one, because this is a tough one to call, man. This is going to be a tight one. So in terms of line, where do you see the favorite landing?
You know what? It's funny, right? I so just want to give the edge to the Dagestani fighter, but at the end of the day, I think Tom Breeze has done enough recently to merit what should be the favorite. But you kind of inched me away from my current numbers. So I'm gonna actually put Tom Breeze as a minus 115 favorite here.
Oh wow! I'm gonna give you, man. You are on a fucking roll today, man. Fire it up. So he actually opened as a minus 135 favorite, right? In line with what you expected. And since then, it has actually moved. If I look online right now, he's a minus 150.
Bro, my original line was minus 145.
You would have hit it both ways. You would have hit it both ways.
You told me it was you really did play the. I guess you didn't expect me to be that close at the odd.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, it's so funny. But yeah, original line was minus 145, so I think that's hella accurate. I think he definitely deserves it. I think what Akhmedov is going to bring to the table, Breeze is going to be ready, and it's going to be about mixing it up. You know, these are the kind of guys that have to mix it up. It's going to be a true MMA fighter fight. They're going to be elite.
I can't wait to see this one.
Agreed. Hella underrated fight for this card.
Yeah, I have no idea where it's going to
That's why Tapology has it as the co-main.
They don't even know where the fight is. All right, so up next, I believe we have a fight that was probably added to the card while we've been recording this. I don't got shit to say on this one, but we got Wu Yanan versus Joselyne Edwards, and that's all I got to say on this one.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, we do know Wu Yanan, and we've seen her fight in the UFC, and I like the striking, I like the head movement, things like that. She, you know, we talked about Jingliang just now. You know, very similar styles. Like they're great strikers, and the thing is, they're able to last for 3 rounds. That's the big thing about them. I really like watching them fight for 3 rounds. The cardio is there, the striking is there. Needs to keep her hands up. A lot of them need to start keeping their hands up, take less damage. You know, the thing that I did notice, and the little bit that I did find on Joselyne Edwards, she does like to throw big combos, heavy hooks. She likes to throw some knees. They're not as strong as you'd like, but the hooks are coming. She throws like this, you know, she goes crazy. She just constantly throwing like this, and then like has really good kicks that come in between. But, you know, she actually fought on a really small card in 2020, ended up getting that win. So she's coming to UFC off of that. She looks dangerous, I will say, but at the same time, it's like you have to wonder, you know, when it comes to like UFC level competition, like how well can you stack up? Like I think she's a great striker. I think she's gonna bring some Muay Thai skills, like good clinching and all that kind of stuff. But Yanan's gonna bring a different style of striking, MMA striking. She's gonna be able to switch levels. She's gonna be able to kind of, you know, dictate the pace. And if she can avoid heavy shots to the head, this is going to be a tough fight for her to lose.
Okay. And so we can't even play our game here because there's no odds available for this fight.
I know.
None of that stuff. So if you were to lean either way, do you have a lean either way?
Yeah, I am going to say Yanan has to be the favorite, and it's going to probably be a minus 250 or minus 269, if not higher. You know what I'm going to get you to do? Why don't you quickly just do an odd shark or like a Google?
I did. It's not on there.
I figured you would have. I knew you would have.
That's what I was doing right now.
I've never asked you that in all this time where we've never missed a card since last summer, and this is the first time I've done it, and I don't know why I did. Shame.
Let's not take it to that level. You're no Cersei here, man. But yeah, so well, we can't really comment on this one. We expect Yanan to be the favorite, and we'll have to see how it unfolds.
Agreed.
All right, and so rounding out the prelims, we got a nice middleweight bout between two serious prospects. We got Nassourdine Imavov, who we saw recently, and he's taking on Phil Hawes. So Imavov, he rocks that 9-2 record. He is fighting out of France with that 1-0 UFC record. We saw him make his debut back in October, and he beat Jordan Williams by unanimous decision. Pretty sure this was one of your best calls. We were hella
that.
Yeah, exactly. And so on the flip side, we got Phil Hawes. He's rocking that Calvin Johnson nickname, so I got to give him a little boost for that. You know we're big Megatron fans.
No, baby.
And not because of the Transformers.
Yeah, right.
So he also has a 9-2 record. They both sport the same record. He won his UFC debut back in October against Malkoun. I think he won in like 18 seconds or something. It was no joke. And, he's fresh off of that Dana White Contender Series win as well back in September. So he's looking to keep that train going. What do you see here, my man?
Yeah, so I mean, digging a little deeper in Phil Hawes' his career, he had that Julian Marquez loss in 2017 on Dana White's Contender Series, and he completely turned his career around. He got a shot again, and he never looked back, started finishing guys like crazy, really found the striking to complement that wrestling. Such an incredible size. He's starting to look leaner and leaner. I'm noticing that he's actually been looking, it's not that he wasn't athletic, obviously, but like he's just looking really lean, and the MMA aspect of his game is just really rounding out, and I'm very impressed with what he's done so far in that 9-2 record, and being such a late blooming prospect in terms of UFC opportunity. So it's really nice to see him get the chance and do the things he's doing already and have that opportunity. The only real knock per se I do have for him is I do believe Malkoun was a fringe fighter for that card. They had reserves, if you remember. There was a bunch of reserves to that card. I believe it was the Whitaker card, and so there was enough people falling out of that card, and it just wasn't. Isn't that where we saw? Yeah, man. It was a interesting card. Remember, we saw Chandler weigh in. Chandler weighed in case in case Gaethje could be had to fall out. So that was an interesting bout. I like what I saw from Phil Hawes. Don't get me wrong, but again, Malkoun is an interesting fight, and I'm glad he got the opportunity to showcase his skills in the UFC. But Phil Hawes is a very tough fight for anyone, and that was borderline unfair. To him.
Yeah, it wasn't in the cards for Malkoun.
And so let's talk about one of my favorite prospects in the UFC, Frenchman with that, Russian vibe, Nassourdine Imavov. So if you really, you kind of said it, you hinted towards it. So the thing about Jordan Williams, we watched him fight on Dana White's Contender Series. We saw what he brought. I love the heart, man. I love the striking, but unfortunately, he takes the damage. Unfortunately, he likes to push forward. Unfortunately, he does not keep his hands up when he needs to. So he's making every fight exciting. Don't get me wrong, and I love watching him fight. But the reason why that might be probably top 3 calls we've ever had together, I honestly think it came from just the technical aspect. It was fairly easy when he had the energy to kind of duck and dodge all the striking and try to mix it up a little bit. I do think towards the third round he was getting a bit more tired. So truly, Williams makes every fight exciting. It's what he does, and Imavov did overcome that. He did get the win, and so. That's what I do believe you need to do in this fight. You have to mix it up. If you stay flat-footed with this kind of power coming at you, it's not going to go well. You continuously have to move. I think Hawes is going to come in very hungry. This is a very tough fight. It is Max Holloway is in my top 5 of all time, so I can't count him. And I'm a huge Kattar fan as well, but this is my favorite fight on the card.
Wow, high praise. And it's going to be a tough one to call, man. Phil Hawes comes in with a lot of power, and Imavov has a lot of skill in his game as well. So where do you see the line landing for this one?
Yeah, so I'm going to have to go with Hawes at minus 150. I actually went with my original line in case you were trying to lead me there, because, maybe I deserve for him to be a massive favorite. But I do have to give my man Imavov that plus 120. So I went with a minus 150 and a plus 120 line.
Dude, have you been cheating today or what?
Not at all.
I don't think you've missed maybe one. That's crazy. So Phil Hawes, he actually came in as opening line of minus 160 favorite. So we'll ring the bell for that one. So he opened the line at minus 160. One thing that's very interesting to me is seeing the line movement. He's currently a minus 190, and that's from last night to today. So that's moving rapidly.
And we know why, Pies. You can't at the end of the day, how people kind of lean when it comes to MMA betting, fight betting. maybe, but MMA betting, this is an unknown fighter with one fight to his name. At the end of the day, Hawes has paid his dues and, looked really good in that last fight. So people are definitely going to side with him. In my opinion, what are we looking at for the unders here?
So if we are looking at the total rounds, under 2.5 is -163, while under 1.5 is +120.
See, what's interesting for me is, if we start looking into more tape on Imavov, going, even deeper to see how he takes kind of first round damage from even if he's faced powerful guys like this. I haven't dug too deep for that kind of information, but, that's a possibility, right? I just think, from what we saw from Imavov, he has the skill to kind of get away from that. Like, I think his MMA ability is there. We're just gonna have to see, can he deal with a guy like this? And that's the tough call.
Yeah, I mean, the fight to go the distance is +150 if we take the yes. So stay tuned for that one.
You got it. I'm excited for that fight, man.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a beauty. All right, and so that'll take us right into the main card of this very fun fight card. It looks
first one of 2021, homeboy. I love you.
Oh yeah, man, it's gonna be a beauty. So here we got a nice middleweight bout. We got Punahale Soriano taking on Dusko Todorovic. That's how you say it? Yeah,
Todorovic, that's my man.
All right, so we got Punahale out of Hawaii, something that we're very big fans of. He made his UFC debut back in December of 2019, actually. So he didn't fight in the year of 2020. But he did win with a mean left hook against Oscar Pachoya, I believe. And, one thing I noticed about this guy as well is he seems to finish most of his fights. There's not a lot that goes to decision here. Dusko on the flip side, he made his UFC debut against Daquan Townsend. I'm sure we remember that fight pretty well. And so, he came off of his Dana White Contender Series win against Teddy Ash. His victory against Townsend, it was really impressive, man. Knockout in the second round. And just diving back into his archives, he actually beat Michael Pereira in the Serbian battle competition as well, or championship or whatever it may be. So, we recently saw him be very impressive as well. So looking forward to see what you have in store for these guys. Yeah, it was against our boy, right?
Chaos.
Yeah. All right.
That was a good fight. It was a really interesting fight, but unfortunately, I mean, math, right? Like it goes in a certain way, and kudos to both guys. We're gonna see them around for a long time, I think.
For sure, and that's one of the most interesting fighters, Miguel Pereira. That is just entertainment to the max.
You can't go wrong with that. But let's dive into these mans right now. The one thing I love, about our boy Dusko is the way you say his first name, first of all. But we've seen him fight Daquan Townsend. The one thing, kind of slow, right? I don't know. Speed-wise, I want to see a bit more as you get to the higher ranks because you won't be able to keep up with some of the best fighters in that division. I think Daquan Townsend showed a lot in his career as a UFC fighter, but you have to do better against tougher competition. The one thing I love about Punahale Soriano is the speed, man. He kind of showed that, right? He came in real quick. Both guys are undefeated, but it all depends on competition, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And one thing I will say is Oscar Piochotwa. Is that how you say it? That's actually really well done. That hook, bro. That hook was devastating.
Yeah,
absolutely devastating. I liked the athleticism. I liked the speed, footwork. He got that so clean, and I think that's going to be a tough fight for our boy Dusko.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, in terms of Vegas lines, where do you see it going here?
I'd like to think Dusko still would get the edge as a favorite. I think he has some time to show for himself. It's been a long time since we saw our boy Punahale Soriano fight. It's been since 2009. That's a long time to be away from the octagon, let alone UFC competition in that sense. So let's go Dusko with a -200.
Ooh, a tad high for Mr. Dusko there, a tad high. So what's interesting about this line movement is that it actually opened as a pick'em. So it was -110 both ways, okay? There was actually no favorite. If I look at it today, right now, Dusko is a -160. So it has moved 50 basis points since 24 hours, maybe 48 hours.
Yeah, so the interesting is, when you look at who Dusko is fighting versus Punahale, especially the time period, I guess that plays such a much plays a much bigger role than you would think. I still like what we saw from Punahale in those early fights back in the day. So I think we have to roll. The rolling on the dice on this one is really tough, right? I don't know if we can call it. The MMA math is just so hard.
So plus 130 on Punahale. Any props you want to explore? Any of that kind of stuff?
What's interesting about this fight is I do want to consider the unders. Like I think these guys are going to go in a way to try to finish, but at the same time, I think there's going to be juice. Do you have some juice to show me?
So under 1.5 is plus 120. So midway point of the fight is plus 120. The fight to actually go the full distance is plus 162. So it seems like they're expecting the under 2.5 is minus 163. So it's looking like yeah.
See, this fight is just very dangerous. I think you could tell in my tone. I've been, it's one of those things where it's just very scary. I think it's going to be those fights where as a fight fan, I'm going to love it. Let's just say it's going to be more what we would call non-public money. A lot of that degenerate,
enjoyment. Exactly, enjoyment. So
sprinkle.
Yeah, and again, make sure you check out our betting videos. We clearly define in the sprinkles. These should not be units. They should not have any sort of weight. These are your fun. They go in the same bucket as parlays. You know what I mean? You should not be betting a house on a parlay ever.
And the big thing about this card is we're so early that Pies and I are considering making a quick little hitter video where a lot of these things are going to get updated. Let's talk about weigh-ins. Let's talk about things like that. If that's a possibility, we want to explore it. And so these fights are a little bit ways out. Who knows if they'll happen, and I think that's something we're going to have to explore soon.
Yeah, you said it best. I mean, it is 8 to 9 days out. And so even the line movement that'll exist in the next week or so, we'll probably have a role to play.
Pies and them lines never stops thinking.
All right. And up next on the main card, we got a middleweight bout. We got Joaquin Buckley taking on Alessio Di Chirico. I believe that's how you say his name.
Di Chirico, yeah, you got it, baby.
Di Chirico, yeah. And so, we got our main man here, Buckley. This is probably the most exciting dude of 2020. So, we don't need to touch on him too much. But one thing I did want to say is, even before that fight, you called this man Mini Mike Tyson. And it's crazy how that has just exploded. You know what I mean?
It's so true.
You couldn't have nailed it better. So you got me excited about this man early in 2020. Let's talk about Alessio for a little bit. So he has a 12-5 record. It's 3-5 in the UFC, and he has lost 3 in a row. So he's going to be hungry for this one. He knows his UFC career kind of depends on this fight. So, he has 3 straight losses, like we mentioned. Last year, he lost to Zach Cummings. Prior to that, he lost to Mahmoud Muradov and our boy Kevin Holland as well. He did only fight once in 2020. It was against Zach Cummings. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he can bounce back. Buckley, I don't think we need to touch on too much. He did lose his initial fight, and since then, he's bounced back twice. He beat Jordan Wright and Impa in that, both infamous knockouts. They were both great knockouts. His original loss was to Kevin Holland. So don't think we need to touch on him too much. He's fresh. He's ready to roll. I'm looking forward to seeing what Alessio can do to handle this power. So
you kind of said it best, right? Do we really need to touch on Joaquin Buckley so much? The guy's a legend. He really has shown since that loss to Kevin Holland, who is elite. He's shown absolutely elite level skill at this point, which has been hard work. Like, let's not get it wrong here. We've seen him work. And, I think Joaquin Buckley took that personally. And, that spinning, jumping back kick that he landed on Casagna was, knockout of the year by most people. And, it got him right into a new fight where a guy like Wright, who really was talked about, but didn't fight the guys you expect. Joaquin Buckley, like we just said, Impa Casagna, Kevin Holland, like these are big names in the UFC on the come up, right? And so Jordan Wright just couldn't stack up, and I think he just couldn't handle the real pressure that Joaquin Buckley brought in. What that kind of scares me in terms of Di Chirico, because there's no real size difference there. The only thing that kind of worries me is Chirico likes to strike, and he's a good striker. And the thing about Buckley is he does absorb over five strikes per minute. That's a
Yep.
lot. That's significant, right? So I just don't see it being heavily damaging. And to be honest, I think he's now working at a level where what he's bringing to the table, footwork, power, all that kind of stuff is very scary. I think the lines are going to show it. Chirico has to be the biggest underdog on this entire fight night. It'd be very surprised if he wasn't 3 straight losses, and that spans, more than 2-3 years. It's been a different type of career for him, on the tail end. And so I think he might even be one of those people in a position where, like, who wants to fight Joaquin Buckley? Well, I think Chirico put up his hand after those 3 losses, and let's see how well he does. All the power to him.
I was going to say kudos to him for taking that fight for sure, because this is going to be a tough one. Where do you see the odds landing?
I have Joaquin Buckley at a -350 currently.
Oh, just outside of the range. Yeah, 25. And when we get high like this, it's tough to nail them.
I was going to say -400. I really was, but you know what?
Oh, no. Now you're going the other way.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I 100% knew I had to, like, take it down a notch because he's
shave it down a bit.
This isn't Valentin Shevchenko. We have to just take it down.
Yeah, these are -1600 lines like that, Brad, for sure. So, he's a -275 favorite, and that line has stayed put from the time it opened. It looks like it's going to close at -275 as well.
And I think that 100% has to deal with the ability of Chirico to keep that striking battle going, and Buckley's, inability to block consistently. 5 strikes is a significant number if you look across the board. That's a fairly high number for any UFC fighter, and I think that's going to be something that speaks volumes if you only stick with fighters. Standing guys
for sure. Any over-unders or method of victory you want to touch on?
You have to assume that the unders are massive here. Like they must be like what, -300s.
Dude, it would actually surprise you, man. Under 1.5 is +137 here. The fight to go the distance. If you say no, it's only -160.
Yeah, you know what, man? They're very much respecting that Alessio striking. You know what? I respect that. Chirico is a big deal back in the day, and then you know what? He's fought good guys in those last 3 fights. That is the tail of the tape. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so I think he's getting that respect, and my fault for thinking the public money was that heavy. I guess we got some smart folks, but you know what? There's time. That line's moving.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And then the other thing to note on also is that Buckley to finish is even money. That seems a little enticing, my man.
Oh my, that does seem enticing. But what's interesting is this man pretty much only loses. Like, the thing is, if Buckley's gonna strike, man, and this man has never been knocked out, so it's gonna be rough to call. Yeah, like I had that feeling, and I wanted to double check. Like this man is an Italian prospect who made his way, and lost to good fighters, man, at the time, and it is very, very much it shows in the lines. I think that shows in the lines because Vegas is very much reading more into the fight than they are people.
Yes, absolutely. Because we know 90% of the money, if not more, is going to be on Buckley.
And that's what I mean. Give it that 8-day span. This is going to get ridiculous. And it makes you consider.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's going to be really interesting.
For sure. 100%. All right. And so up next, we got another welterweight bout. We got 2 dudes looking to crack the top 10 in this division. So I'm very excited about this one. On one end, we got Santiago Ponzinibbio. And, he comes in fighting out of Argentina. He has a sparkling record, man, 27-3. That is insane. He has a 9-2 record in the UFC after winning the Ultimate Fighter Brazil. He had won 7 in a row prior to his last break. I don't believe he's fought since 2018, but going into that, he had won 7 in a row. Probably a blessing in disguise for him because I know he was supposed to fight Muslim in this fight. And we know that's a recipe for disaster if you're doing this in Abu Dhabi. So glad he got this one instead.
What a fight. I'll be 100% honest. I didn't even notice that. I didn't even put that together. But yes, he did avoid what could be an absolutely treacherous.
In Abu Dhabi, we know that doesn't work out too well. So he's taking on Jingliang Li. This fight was supposed to be back in December, he was supposed to fight back in December, and we were really looking forward to that one. But, COVID has its powerful ways, not much we could do there. But, he's had an interesting career. He's actually been in the UFC since 2014, which shocked me. I had no idea, But he does have a 9-4 record. He had a win in the Ultimate Fighter finale. Most recently, he lost to Neil Magny back in March of 2020. And, I'm sure he's going to be looking for some redemption on Saturday.
Yeah, so like the thing with him, it's like a lot of these international fighters, we have one of our very own, right? Gavin Tucker took a very long time to kind of like really become a consistent part of the UFC, if you will. And Jingliang, I mean, from a skills perspective, is getting really good now. Like he's fun to watch, and that's why I think this might be the most underrated fight on the card. I think the hardcore fans are probably hella excited about this because God knows I'm pumped. This is going to be a battle, and I want to shed some light on this because when you really think about it, like let's analyze even the canceled fights. Like that's the one thing I want to point out here is we're talking about guys like Dwight Grant, Axel Oliveira, Eliza Zaleski with Jingliang, but with Santiago Ponzinibbio, bro, we're talking about Kamaru Usman, Robbie Lawler. Like these are guys. These are champions. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's where Santiago Ponzinibbio kind of laid his ground before kind of going off after his win against Neil Magny. And funny enough, Neil Magny now is riding the ship in his career, and Jingliang learned that the hard way, right? So it's one of those things where I'm very excited to see where, put it this way, if Jingliang comes away with the win against Santiago Ponzinibbio, I'm pumped for his career.
Oh,
yeah, like he's going to get a really, really good shot at that, but because that's well-deserved, I think Ponzinibbio is despite everything, an absolute legend. Funny story, that Ultimate Fighter you brought up was against Leonardo Santos, and if I remember correctly, that was Jose Aldo's best friend and his training partner, his roommate. That guy is the one that took in Jose Aldo and helped him and everything like that.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, those were the guys. So like that's a great non, I guess, US version of the Ultimate Fighter. There's a few out there. Yeah, there's a few out there that are absolutely phenomenal, and I gotta say that one's a big one. That was an absolute big one. Yeah, I gotta actually confirm you. So I was just making sure. Yeah, so Leonardo Santos, that's the guy. 18-3 UFC MMA record. He was really good, and we haven't seen him in a while. But big talks. This guy was a big deal, and we haven't seen him since July. But I hope
given your hype for him, I'm pretty pumped to see him because I've actually never seen him in action really myself. So definitely looking forward to seeing him on this card. And for the last one in Jingliang, like I was really pumped. I was really high on him in that fight that was canceled. So this one's going to be amazing. Where do you see the line landing here?
I think skill-wise, this is a different breed. I think Jingliang, unless he's going to, he's reached PhD levels in record time, this is going to be a very difficult fight for him. And I have to give it to Santiago Ponzinibbio. And my heart wants to put it in close to the 300, but I can't give it that bad. I think there will be some recency bias, but the names that Ponzinibbio has is unquestionable. And so I'm gonna go with a minus 250 on Ponzinibbio.
Oh baby, this has to be your best one yet, man. I gotta say, you are smashing this out of the park. Let's bring it in. Man, just killing it. He is a minus 275 favorite. It is stayed at minus 275. No line movement there. You are right. You hit the hammer on the head on this one for sure. So anything you see there?
Yeah, for sure. So the one thing I kind of want to touch on is I think there's some very serious recency bias, homie. If you asked me what my favorite line was, you told me as a fan so far, that minus that's too low. That's too low.
Oh wow.
That's too low. Wow. Even though my line was low, that's too low. That's too low.
You want to explore any fight outcomes here? Do you see it going a certain way?
What's Ponzinibbio by finish?
Plus 105.
Damn. All right, I guess. Yo, you know what? Vegas, welcome to 2021. You smartened up.
These are accurate ass lines here, man.
Yeah, let's be real, man. This guy is the real deal. Hasn't lost since before 2015. He's really, really good. I like that line, Pies. I like that.
All right. Well, it looks like we're gonna lock that one in. Shall we say a Buckley parlay or nah?
I mean, yes. Yes, that sounds absolutely. If I could pick a bet as an absolute diehard, and this sport flows through my freaking veins, to kick off my 2021, to get me excited for the next 8 days just for the fuck of it. Sorry, I don't want to... That's the one, man. Whew. I got shivers.
Minus 118. Minus 118 on that one.
That's beauty. Maybe it's the first. Maybe it's the first graphic we make of 2020. One.
There you go. One. All right, and that leads us right into our co-main event. I was shocked to see this originally on the prelim card, but glad it's getting its dues here because we got a couple beauty vets here. We got Carlos Condit and Matt Brown, two dudes who have been around the game for a while. Their records speak for themselves. I mean, Condit is at 31-13. Matt Brown, he's at 22-17. Not the best record, but shows the volume of fights he's had in his career. So let's talk about Condit for a bit here. So he's been kind of on a rough losing streak, literally dating back since 2012 when he lost to GSP. But if you dive a little bit deeper into those, look at the tough fights he's taking on. Thiago Alves, Dan Hardy, Nick Diaz, and even his losses include Woodley, Robbie Lawler, Damian Maia. These are insane names. These are true champs. So I'm looking forward to what Condit brings to the table. He did fight back in October, I believe against Court McGee. Correct. Won that one in a unanimous decision. So, he's gotten a little bit back on track. Matt Brown, he's also been in the UFC since 2008, man. That shit is nuts. He won the Ultimate Fighter season 7. What season are we on? I'm pretty sure that show's done. It's crazy.
Making a comeback, baby boy.
So, this guy, he's been around the block as well. He's seen the best of them. He's gone 3-6 in his most recent 9 fights. So that's a little bit tough. Most recently, he got knocked out by Miguel Beza. So, that happened in May of last year. This fight was actually supposed to happen in 2018 from what I saw, years ago, but Brown tore his ACL. So I'm sure these guys have been looking forward to this one for a while. Tell me about your love for this, because I know you're pumped about this.
Yeah, so you kind of said it best. That's an interesting, tale of time. At the end of the day, they've made it happen. The one thing I'll say about Matt Brown is I think in terms of damage, in terms of the guys he's fought, you gave Condit, the utmost credit, which is definitely necessary. But I think Matt Brown has a level of credit he deserves too. He's taken on a lot of nasty fighters, and he even had that fairly late revival in his career as well, which was phenomenal. But you start to fight the right guys, and at the end of the day, he's a phenomenal fighter. There's nothing else to say about it. He's a phenomenal fighter. But then you start to take on guys like Miguel Beza who are becoming elite level prospects. You know what I mean? And we've never missed a fight of his. We've seen him fight since he started and never missed a fight, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So the way I see it is Court McGee, I thought should have maybe considered the takedowns a little earlier. I didn't like the fact that he waited a while, but that's from more of a coaching perspective, right? I think it's really easy to say that on the outside looking in, but I'm sure that was in his mind. I'm sure he was trying to consider, but Condit looked so good. Condit looked like old Condit. Condit was landing strikes. Condit was starting to pick his spots. Condit towards the end of that fight had me on the edge of my seat because I love Carlos Condit, and I was so happy to watch that performance from Carlos Condit because I think given the nature of the fight, he was able to exploit even, late takedown attempts or anything like that and still land his shots and things like that. I was just so impressed with it, with everything he brought to the table. Now we're going back to the, new level of fighters. You want me to be honest? I think Matt Brown's going to know to try to take him down. I don't think Matt Brown's going to stand there and try to completely outbox. I think Matt Brown might want to get that UFC win. Who knows? It might be something he'd want to explore. So I think it could be a funny fight. I want to watch these men absolutely knock each other's blocks off, but the fan in me, the wannabe, no good for nothing coach in me just wants to see a battle. I want to see Condit try to land those sneaky strikes. I want to see him, try to get it against the fence with some knees and stuff like that. But I do also want to see Matt Brown use his footwork to get out of those dangerous spots, to try to get some takedowns. I would watch these guys fight for 10 rounds. So you know what? I want to see a competitive fight. I love them both. I wish them both the very best. It is an absolute honor to get to watch them both fight.
And it's going to be a great co-main event for sure. I think these lines are really going to get your juices flowing. So who do you see as the favorite and by how much?
Yeah, so I kind of gave like a what I believe a game plan should be in terms of Matt Brown, but it's just very difficult for me not to give Condit the edge here. I think Condit looked the part. He looked himself, and when you have to analyze the fights from a Vegas perspective, at least when you analyze the fights from the lines we've seen today, it's a pretty good example to maybe go along those same lines. Recency bias. I liked what I saw from Condit. I think people are going to see that. I think Vegas is going to see that. I think Matt Brown is still a very similar fighter. I think he knows what he should change in his game for Condit. We'll have to see if he does it, and I think that's the major difference. So Carlos Condit has to be the favorite, but let's not go by much. Let's go by -125, borderline pick 'em, but Carlos Condit -125.
Jesus, man. I got to say, Suki brought his A game today. This has been the best showing you have had for sure. Yeah, for sure. And so the one thing I'm going to say about this line is that, it opened at -140, okay? Since then, Bet365 has taken off any sort of method of victory, round betting, any of that, and Condit has moved up to a -175. So he's moved about 35 basis points, and they've taken off everything. So look into that to whatever information you get, but that's kind of what we've seen here.
Wow, I actually I'm shocked that they removed the lines. It's funny because there's so much love in that fight, and I think I was able to just be unbiased because of what I've seen recently from both guys. It's just really interesting that despite how many of these fighters we just haven't seen very often lately, these two guys have found a way to make a way back. You gotta love those old school guys, man. Natural born killer. Oh, yeah. Those are the greats as you grow up with the sport, but. It takes you back to
your boy Cub, man. Like your boy Cub.
Yeah, man. I was just saying, it takes you back to those WEC days when all these guys were literally kids, man. Right, Faber. Oh, I should show you. One day, man, when we get to sit down and go back in time, we'll get that Fight Pass trial and just go through those.
Oh yeah.
We'll go real quick. I'll show you the quickest highlight reel you'll ever see of all those old fights of all these guys and loved when they were 20 to 25 years old.
Oh man, I'm so down.
Yeah,
especially if that means I can get another Fight Pass T-shirt. I'm down. Those T-shirts are the best.
No, you only get an extra week now. You used to get 1 week, now you get 2.
Oh, there you go.
Great deal for 2021, baby. Let's get it.
All right, and that means it's main event time.
Oh, baby.
And what a great main event we have here, likely for the #1 contendership in this division. We got Max Holloway taking on Calvin Kattar. Holloway, everybody knows this man, but he's coming off of a few championship losses to Volkanovski, both of them in decision. He's likely itching to get another shot to get his title back. And this man is the real deal, man. His only other loss that I saw in the last 7 years was against Dustin Poirier, who we're going to see fight Conor McGregor. So, that's no slouch either. And look at some of the guys he's taken down, man. Frankie Edgar, Jose Aldo twice. Your boy Charles Oliveira. So yeah, I know how you feel about this, man, for sure. Calvin Kattar on the flip side, fighting out of Boston. He's looking for his title shot too, Similar to Max, he only has a couple losses in the last 10 years. The two that I saw were to Moicano and to Zabit. I'm not even going to attempt how to say that last.
Yeah,
that's the one. What he said.
He's actually a phenomenal fighter. He's one of the top-rated fighters in the UFC. So Zabit.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Zabit is on the verge of superstardom. He beating Calvin Kattar was his big win. He was supposed to fight Yair Rodriguez, but that fight fell through in August.
Okay.
So we're gonna see him fight soon. So
yeah, I'm looking forward.
You gotta learn how to say that name. Magomed Sharipov. Magomed.
Him and Khabib, man, they always mess me up.
But that's why. Let's be real. There's a reason why everybody calls them Zabit and Khabib. But Nurmagomedov.
It's so true.
No, honestly, Nurmagomedov rolls off the tongue like you wouldn't believe.
It does sound nice.
Yeah, we're gonna get there with the Magomed Sharipov. We'll get there, Magomed Sharipov.
Yeah,
I'll get there.
So
I've been calling him Zabit the whole time, but he's a superstar now. We gotta learn. it.
Yeah, we gotta learn for sure. So Kattar comes in 22-4 record, 6-2 in the UFC. We saw him beat Dan Ige back in July. This one's gonna be unreal. It doesn't need any more hype. What do you got for me, man?
Yeah, so you know what? Let's touch on Calvin Kattar first. I just, you know, that loss is a big deal loss. We touched on Zabit. I think, like we said, Zabit was supposed to fight Yair Rodriguez. Didn't happen. Now we're waiting to see who he fights. But that man's elite. One loss on the record. So Calvin Kattar is rebounding pretty well, if you ask me. You know, I think he's looked elite in the last few fights. The Dan Ige fight, like Dan Ige is really quick. I think when you're able to land at that rate, given how quick we can see Dan Ige move, it's a big deal. I love Calvin Kattar in that fight. We bet on him. We won that, no question. It's one of those things where, you know, I don't like that he couldn't finish. The reason why I say that is because who the hell wants to go 5 rounds with Max fucking Holloway? You know, Volkanovski is elite. You know, that's the thing. The thing with Volkanovski is even if you want to doubt his win in the moment, go watch the fight. You know, he did do enough to get that win over Max the second time. And, you know, you can't play favorites, right? If you're gonna play the argument that you have to decisively beat the champ to take the belt, then that's what you have to do. You know, that seems to be an unwritten rule in MMA, and that does play out. And so in this case, is it going to be tough to watch that match? I mean, I don't know if I'll be more anxious as a fight fan in a third fight, because the third fight, it's a big deal, right? That's a massive deal. But let's talk about Max, right? The kid's elite. Before his 30th birthday, the guy fought everybody.
Yeah. That's what's so crazy. He's 29 years old. What's that's crazy so nuts.
Conor, bro. Every major fight fan wanted to talk so much shit about Conor, but not only did he do what he do for the areas that you want to make fun of him about, but the two guys that we're talking about right now when it comes to Max Holloway are both guys that, you know, Conor is fighting for it for the second time after beating him. If Conor ever fights Max Holloway again, he's going to fight him for the first time after beating him. You know, they were really young at that time. So it's really interesting to see all of that play out. We have some beautiful fighters in the realm of MMA to watch kind of come up. It's to me, I don't think there's a better, you know, circle of fighters. And Calvin Kattar is entering that realm of guys we have to watch long term. You know, if he does lose the fight against Max Holloway, I just think the next fight's still going to be a top 5, top 10 fighter. It's who he is. If he goes lower, he's going to win the fight. I think we've seen enough elite fighting out of him.
Yeah, to know that he's just going to get the tough opponents now.
It's the pace, man. You know, this guy's going to just pepper him with pot shots all day long, get in, get out. You have to get in on Max. You have to maybe take him down. You know, we were looking at some stats here, and frankly, like, this fight is going to stay standing, right? Like, I don't see any way that these guys take it down. Takedown defense on Max, 83%. Takedown defense on Kattar, 88%. Like, these guys want to bang. They want to bang.
And it's what we want too. So,
no,
it's definitely
not true.
what we want too.
I love some.
Well, it's definitely what I want. It's definitely what I want. Yeah, we know your love for Charles and company. So,
my guy, dropping the names.
So I'm curious to see where you think the line lands here, because it's a pretty interesting one for sure.
Yeah, so it's tough to not give Maxie the line. Come on, man. How are you not going to give the boy the line? You just got to give him the line. The line is the line. The line. But at the end of the day, I think it's just going to be a close enough fight where I gave him minus 180. That's what I give Maxie. Minus 180. Woo! Final answer.
Dude, I'm a clap for this one.
No way.
Oh, dude. Minus 185. Lead 5 basis points. Get out of here, man. Okay. So yeah, it did actually open at minus 185, and recently it's dropped, man. It's minus 170, and it kind of goes right in line with what you're saying here.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? I think Kattar has the elite skill. The thing is that you're watching Max come off 2 losses, right? But the thing is, Max pushes pace. I just want to see if Kattar is smart enough to not take the damage. Watch Kattar when he wins fights. The face isn't looking the best. You know, you can't have that against Max. Max is going to throw twice as much for twice as long. It's what he does. You know, it's really
for sure.
And that's where I just think, like, if you can get out of the way, block some of these shots, maybe try to just mix it up, you know, get in some grappling, all that kind of stuff. Just mix it up a little, you know, that you have to put champion level fighters off their game a little bit. And I just believe if you go in there and try to play the pepper shot game, pot shot, all that kind of stuff, it's just, you're playing with fire, literally.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so the one thing I was going to ask you, and just analyzing these lines and seeing where the true value is do you think either of these guys can finish?
See, the thing with Max is he's got the Max, if he finishes, like, this is where I would, as a fight fan who's betting, you know, the late finish on Maxi just looks so pretty, right? Because I believe Kattar's got chin. I don't think he's going to lose by finish. Yeah, exactly, right? But now we got 5-round fight against a guy like Maxi. It's just a whole different ball game. You know, I just think that the amount of damage that Kattar might have to take if he doesn't get some good work in early might be the most he's ever seen in a fight, right? Like that wouldn't be hard to argue, right? That's my biggest thing. Zabit was a tough competitor for him, but Max is another beast. Yeah, like, let's be real. You kind of mentioned how, you know, the last 2 fights were championships. I mean, when you really look at it, what was it, the last 8? You know, you beat Pettis, and then after that, it's just Aldo, Ortega, Poirier, Frankie, Volkanovski. The Poirier lost his lightweight title shot anyway, right? So.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. It's pretty insane.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess the one thing that stood out to me is, you know, Max minus 170 favorite, plus 140 on Kattar. But if you look at the knockout or finish, Max is plus 350, while Kattar's plus 333. Like, he's less than Max, even though Max is heavily favored in the fight. Like,
yeah, so here's the thing. Like, this is so weird, but I'm going to take, you know, a stab at explaining that. I really am, because it kind of lines up with what I was saying, right? I just think Kattar does have elite potential, man. Some of the shots that he's able to throw, these elbows, these sneaky shots, it's just, you're questioning the pace and the speed. That's what you're questioning. You're questioning his ability to take Max Holloway's damage into later rounds. That's what you're questioning. But Kattar's ability is what's unquestionable. If he lands the shots that he needs to, especially when he has everything, you know, 100% energy, like it's a video game kind of thing. I mean, sneaky, you know, that this is the guy that's been able to kind of really impress with those kinds of shots and steal fights and steal rounds, that kind of thing. Like I said, the thing is, he doesn't look the cleanest when he's winning these fights, raising his hand. Like, there's damage there, and that's what he needs to avoid. But that has a lot to do with his ability to find those shots and to be able to lay out. But I think, like, the closest there, you know, I hate to say it, but I kind of, you know, what is the rounds 3, 4, 5 finish for Max? Let's go 4-5 championship rounds.
Ooh, I don't even know if you want to know these numbers, man. You're gonna end up just laying shit all night, yo. But round 3 is plus 2,000. Yeah. Round 4 is plus 3,300, and round 5 is also plus 3,300.
I didn't expect the 30s. I didn't expect the 3,300.
That's what I'm saying. Yo, that's just
for 4 and 5. Yo, wait. You're saying that 4 and 5 is higher than 3?
33 to 1. Yep, 33 to 1.
Versus, you said
2,000. 20 to 1.
Obviously, bro. We're sprinkling both of those. Does that add up to you? Though that change in odds.
No, none of these finish lines make sense to me.
Okay,
like,
so you know what, man? Like I think
with these.
So you know what? Let's discuss when we'll come back.
For sure. So, you know, that wraps up UFC Fight Island 7. It's going to be a great card. Can't wait for this one. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button. We got our Instagram, our Twitter, all that information there. Give us a shout. We look forward to hearing from you. Siraj, always a beauty, man.
Always a beauty, man. I can't believe the first card of the year went so well. I literally have goosebumps for the last hour. It's like freezing cold in here, you know. I'm so excited. We got it done really early. We're going to be able to maybe analyze some lines based on, you know, weigh-ins and all those kinds of things. Maybe there's some late-minute changes. Who knows? You know, we're going to have to keep our ear to the ground and just keep it rolling, baby. You know what time it is.
For sure. Stay tuned for that content. So let's go, bro.
Let's go, baby. Keep it real. Keep it locked. Peace.